It's also my last tip. I never say, hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. This is not the kind of content I typically post, but I thought as a small creator with some momentum, I could help out some others. I typically make sustainable fashion and lifestyle content, and in the past, I found it really hard to grow an audience and on top of that, grow my watch time hours. I'm not currently monetized, but I have seen a really tremendous growth in my watch time hours just by tweaking a few things, and it's not exactly related to the algorithm. It's more to do with like the content itself and just kind of like editing techniques and then also packaging of the video. So I thought a lot of people that are trying to get monetized have no problem really hitting the subscriber count. I think what blocks a lot of people from unlocking that first or second level of monetization is the watch hour times, myself included. I have been monetized previously on another older channel, so I'll link that video down below about like my experience with that and kind of what my big takeaway was from that. Interesting if you're into the whole monetization game of YouTube. I've experimented with a few different like techniques and styles, trying to find my own voice and like editing style as it's evolved. Like I definitely was more into the Ember Chamberlain, like let's do a lot of like crops and zooms and like funny comedic timing kind of moments, and those are great, but I found that those are strictly visual. So I'm going to get into what I mean by that later. The tips I'm going to share with you, I feel like are applicable across the board. It doesn't really matter what kind of content you make, and it's not telling you a certain specific way of how to edit. It's just my tips of how to retain your audience once they've clicked on your video. Firstly, and honestly, I think most importantly, is to post consistently. Whether you're telling your audience you're posting twice a month, like long, high quality content, or if you're posting weekly, or if you're a daily vlogger, it doesn't matter what it is. But once you have that upload schedule, and that's what your audience is expecting from you, and more importantly, what the YouTube algorithm is expecting of you, you need to stick to it. I have had periods of like a lot of growth in subscriber count, view count, watch hours, and then didn't upload for a week or missed my upload time by like a couple of hours, and the hit it took to that momentum was like painful almost, and it takes a lot to get back onto that track of that wave, that momentum that you were having previously. So before you walk away with any of the tips that I'm going to share with you, this is the foundation that everything else is going to be built off of. So it's super, super important to stay consistent. Sometimes that does mean sacrificing like a higher quality video just to stick to your upload schedule. It's happened to me. Of course, you want to try your best, but sometimes you upload and you're like, man, I wish I would have included XYZ, but sometimes the consistency is more important. This way, the algorithm recognizes you as a creator and not simply just someone who's on YouTube. It's going to help push out your videos further, have people click on them, enjoy the content, help you grow an audience, and thus get the watch hours that you need. Now, let's talk about getting people to actually click on your video. I wouldn't say that's the most important thing when we're talking watch hours, but this does help people view and see your video. So what I like to do is try to tell some sort of story with a combination of my thumbnail and my title, but leave a little bit of intrigue. You don't want to give everything away in your thumbnail or title if you can help it. I also think it's really important not to repeat things in your thumbnail and your title. You're wasting real estate space on the internet, essentially, if you say the same thing twice. Like, try not to repeat yourself, make it eye-catching. It's really just the packaging of your video. I'm not saying it needs to be flashy and over the top and you have to hire a thumbnail editor or graphic designer, but just something where it leaves the viewer or someone scrolling on YouTube seeing your thumbnail combined with your title and thinking, I wonder what that's about, and clicking on the video. This is going to help organically build your audience because the content you're posting, people just have a genuine interest in, some sort of intrigue. I do want to stress though that if certain people just aren't interested in your topic, nothing is going to make them click on that video. So I think keeping your thumbnail and your title kind of true to what your video is and what your content is about is a really good way to grow an audience versus trying to just like clickbait anyone and everyone to clicking on your video, because those kinds of people aren't going to return in the first place. This is going to help you boost views, but keep in mind that views do not translate to watch time hours. It's one of like the trickier parts of YouTube. Hand in hand with your thumbnail and your title, the first 30 seconds of your video really count. I've seen this tip in like a bunch of videos, and once I started to applying it to mine, I'm here to tell you, like, hands down, it is probably one of the most valuable tips about retaining an audience. So like, you've got people to click on your video, that's great, but how are you keeping them there? It's the first 30 seconds of your video. You should be delivering on the promise that you made in your thumbnail and in your title. So it needs to be relevant to what you told people it's about. Even if the video is like a daily vlog, you want to acknowledge like, hey guys, come with me to blah, 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 I'm doing this today, versus like going off on a tangent about like how bad your morning was or how crazy your week had been prior. You want to deliver on the promise that you made and then continue from there. Sometimes I do this by taking a sound bite that's related to my thumbnail and title, and that's also very interesting and a big part of the video, and put like 10 to 15 seconds of that in the very front. And then sometimes I'll have like a little graphic intro. I'm reworking that now though, so I don't know if I'm going to keep that. It lets the viewer know that I am delivering on that promise, just not immediately. So hook them in with your thumbnail and title, but then keep them there by saying like, I am going to answer your questions, I am going to tell the story, I am going to explain what I said I was going to, and it's not clickbait. The biggest thing about YouTube is like, clickbait is dead in my eyes. I really don't think creators are banking on clickbait for views. I think now it's like genuine clickbait, if that makes any sense. Like, people are saying outrageous things, but they're delivering on their promises, and we love that. Now I want to talk about the actual content of your content. I definitely take long pauses when I'm trying to collect my thoughts or like really think through what I'm about to say, or I repeat myself just in different wording. It's a little bit of word salad sometimes. So I found that eliminating those, clipping out the long pauses, the filler words, the the like, the really, the yeah, so yeah, like I do that a lot. And obviously when I'm editing, it's in my power to get rid of those long pauses. Deleting those like filler words and pauses really helps move along your video, and the viewer is not even going to realize that they're halfway through it because it just moves along so quickly and so smoothly, and doesn't really leave room for your viewer to swipe away or open a different app or close the YouTube app. Like, you keep them hooked in because you are continuing your video without any pauses. Anytime I'm rambling or I'm not really making a point, I do tend to delete that. Even if it's like a minute or two worth of the video, I find that it's not adding value to the content. And on top of that, if there's something that can be salvaged, I'll just splice out like the 5 to 10 seconds of something that was actually valuable for the video and just keep that in, versus the entire minute, 30 seconds of me literally just babbling. It happens all the time. But since deleting those babbles and rambles, I'm delivering more value in a shorter amount of time, and that's what viewers want. Another really great tip for content, and a lot of video essayists and commentators do this, is to have more than one layer or element on your screen at a time. I find that this can add a lot more valuable information to your video. Oh no, my camera died. Oh no. Sorry about that. What I was saying is, anytime you're trying to make a point, graphics or like B-roll, something can really help you illustrate that point a little bit better. And then it's something tangible for the audience to kind of view of like where you're getting your facts and your sources, especially if you're like doing video essays or anything that's a little bit more abstract. I find that B-roll and graphics can really help keep your audience engaged and understanding the point that you're trying to make. Also, natural lighting, sorry, this is going all over the place. So if your viewers are actively engaged in your video and like digesting what you're saying and comprehending it, you can guarantee that they're watching the video for longer, versus if you're explaining like some super long points and you're losing them because you're confusing them, they're not going to keep watching the video. They're going to do something else with their time. Piggybacking off of that tip, anytime I do add elements or layers, I try to add some sort of sound effect, especially if a viewer is most likely having their head turned. A lot of people do listen to YouTube videos like podcasts. So knowing that, what you can do is anytime you have something of interest that pops up, like my phone had just added a sound effect, some sort of sound effect or noise, and it makes the viewer turn their head and look back at the screen and re-engage them into your video and watch actively and, again, take more value from your content. I obviously wouldn't advocate for adding sound effects randomly throughout your video. I do think that could lose and annoy a lot of viewers. As you see fit and where it's appropriate when you can add in sound effects or background music even. And my last tip is to find your sweet spot of the length of your videos. I mentioned earlier that more views don't always translate to more watch time hours. A shorter video with more views may still generate fewer watch time hours than a longer video with like half the views. That's just how it is. It's about how long people are engaged and actively watching your videos. So again, shorter does not always mean better watch time hours. Just keep that in mind when you're making your videos. I've seen this happen to me a few times where I make a video that's like short and punchy and like, really delivers very quickly. But then at the same time, because I cut it down so short, it doesn't have the watch time hours that I think it should. But that's my own fault because I cut like 3 or 4 minutes out of the video and made it less than 10 minutes when it could have easily been like a 14 or 13-minute video. Again, it's all about finding that balance because you don't want to get through the video so quickly that it felt like a TikTok, but at the same time, you don't want it to be so long that it's a documentary that no one's watching it. You don't want to keep anything in your videos that doesn't contain value, but you also don't want to accidentally chop out your value. So again, finding that balance of both. It does take a lot of like playing around and experimenting with what length of videos your viewers like the most. I know my viewers typically fall anywhere from like the 10 to 25 minute range. It really depends on what kind of video it is as well. Definitely don't neglect your analytics. They tell you a lot about your demographic, your viewers, what kinds of people are watching you, what things that they're interested in. Like there's a lot of information to be gleaned from your YouTube analytics. And I definitely recommend you check them out, especially if you're looking to monetize or get longer watch time hours or just grow an audience in general. You need to know who they are and what they're interested in. I hope this video helped you. I hope it was clear and concise and definitely kind of demystified a lot of the algorithm that we see and hear about and watch time hours. It's different from views. And I think a lot of people get hung up on views versus like actual engagement and people commenting and liking and sticking around all the way to the end. Let me know down below how your monetization journey is going, or if you're just interested in creating a channel and you stumbled across this video somehow. If you want to stick around, subscribing is completely free. I also, speaking of demographics and analytics, noticed that 97% of you watching are not subscribed. Join the fam. We're trying to save the planet here. So would love to have you. Also, stick around to the end of this video to see which one of my videos the YouTube algorithm has recommended just for you. I'm always very intrigued to see what it's going to be. That's also my last tip. I never say, okay, that's all, and have like a minute left in the outro. You're shooting yourself in the foot if you're telling your viewers to bye, see you later, and you still have like 30 seconds left to get through the video. So always keep them watching. I will see you guys next Sunday. Until then, don't forget to be kind to yourself, others, and the planet. Bye. Good luck.